Hi, I'm high, and I just have to show you. I'll take them out now because I can't hear me. I can't, I can't do this. Well, I'm listening to music. But I was listening to music, and music has not sounded so good in a very long time to me because I haven't, spent the money to buy good headphones or anything like that. And you know how anti earbuds I am on the streets while you're talking to someone. um, yeah, those are two biggies for me. Basically, if you're with anyone, if you're walking a dog, companion animal, um, you know how I feel. But having said that, my new phone, as I think now they're doing with all phones, or maybe they have been doing this, and it's just because it took me so long to afford a new phone. I didn't realize that all the new phones now require wireless earbuds. So my friend Tim recommended these to me. They're Sony, and I can't tell you anything. The model is YY2982, and I got them in light blue because everybody has them in white, and I almost got the light mint green, because I thought, oh, I wear a lot of blue. But look at me, I'm wearing like the like that. Why can't I think of that color? Anyway, I wear a lot of green, it turns out, and black, and blue, and white. But this is on because it's a little cooler out today, and I thought change it up with the color. Since I do wear a lot of black. But anyway, um, I used to I used to watch, and actually I still do watch their older videos, old videos. The Rob Squad reactions here on YouTube. Uh, when Amber came on the show, I think it started out with just Rob, and then Amber came on the show not very long after, and it just made the show. Men tend to take lyrics or anything literally, um, and whereas women can hear the metaphors or hear the illusion and hear the deeper meaning, or tend to, because women are so emotional. Yeah, but they're having a good time without me anymore. So might not hurt you to get into your emotional side a little bit more. Having said that, I don't know where I was going with that, but the music. Oh, so I used to watch their shows, and I could tell by the way, because they had the big headsets, that they were hearing every nuance of that recording of that song. And I don't think I've ever had that except when I listened to, I don't think I've ever had that, even listening to albums. You think you're hearing the best, but, technology, I'm very wary of these just because people use them 24/7. And I don't want to. These are just going to be used at home when I watch my shows or read and listen to music. Um, uh, that's not to say I'm not going to sing along. I try to lip sync along. Lip syncing is hard. I mean, I know the words, but I mean, getting down the whole routine, that's hard. Being a drag queen is really hard. I know I'm not the first to say that, and I'm hopefully not the first non-drag queen to say that, but being a performer in general, but then having to do it and all the shit they have to do, like on News Drag Race. I can't believe I just called her Rue, like with friends. Like she knows who I am. Anyway, I don't want to get off track because I want to try to keep this under an hour. starting to get longer and longer. And I thought if I made them more, not bite size, maybe not a bite size, but like a big bite size, but not like half a sandwich. Anyway, so I'm listening. Oh, and so I recommend your channel. It's still on. It's Rob Squad Reactions. It's solely Rob at this point. I no longer I no longer watch it just because they had such wonderful chemistry, and I'm sorry to make out between the two of them, and I hope that they're still friends and co-parenting. Hopefully, I mean that they're all doing well and thriving. But I stopped watching it after she left the show. And she has her own channel too, Amber Reactions. I don't watch those either. She's big into, well, I know a lot of people are into watching, like, people watch, like, whole episodes of series, and she does that. She might do, I think she might do music, too. But the chemistry between them was just so good that once they separated, I had to go and see. But still try. So they're wonderful together. Seeing them enjoy. She was like a hippie chick too, and got really into 60s and 70s, especially 70s Woodstock era and stuff. And I have to say that Jay really grew because he started the channel, I guess, as um, like like the backstory was that he was a big rap devotee. He loved rap music, and that's all he listened to. And so he wanted to challenge himself, and it was a very smart move too. And he seems like he's very good. They were both very good. Both are very good at this format, YouTube format. Both very, and that's the thing. They just played off each other very well when they were at their happiest. And you know, they were listening to all the music I grew up on and loved, but to see them get excited about the music that I grew up on and loved, it made me very happy. And they would gush over music, and then over entire like genres or decades or specific bands too. It was just a joy to me to see that they would do that. I mean, I don't know if I would ever be like, okay, let me start a channel where I listen to nothing but country, opera. Opera would be very, very hard for me. Yeah. And I am a very artistic, theatrical type person too, but opera, I guess it's just my ears are sensitive to certain vocal tones. Though I have listened to some like Pavarotti. Maybe it's the women's voices. They get too. I mean, they're incredible instruments, and I know nothing about opera, but the sound doesn't vibe well with my hearing as much as like. And I only know that one. It's on YouTube. It probably has a billion likes on it, a billion views. His aria, I can't remember from what, but I mean, he makes tears come out of your eyes. Me too. It makes me tear up. A tenor, because I'm like an alto, so I'd get into the tenor thing too. Though it would seem like I would be more bass, but I don't know. That was from a long time ago when I was in choir and took chorus in high school. And I can't remember all that. Anyway, I changed the title to my this video. But the title it was gonna be, because I have my wonderful new earbuds in that I will only use inside. Not like you care, but it's on principle. was Guitar Man by Bread. And I always loved the guitar in that song, but it sounded so good in my ears, and like never before. And then you hear each instrument. Ah, like I said, these were definitely worth it. Not only so I could just listen to music, but that I could like really listen to music again, especially if I'm listening to complete albums. I will. Oh, I can't wait! I'm so excited. I just got these yesterday, and yes, I set them up and connected them to my phone. So I'm basically Einstein. Anyway, which got me onto thinking about who my favorite guitarists were, because that was going to be the title to this video, but then I had changed heart. But it still made me want to talk about like that. It's like, wow, who are my favorite guitarists? Of course, like number one that always comes up in my head is David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. And first of all, he's just my type. Tall, hot. To me, he's still hot, even with the pot belly and the. I don't know if it's a pot belly so much as just like a big belly. It like goes from like the boobs down. And he doesn't have too much boob, but maybe a little boob. Yes, because he plays guitar and it's heavily influenced by the blues, and it just and between the hotness and that he's my type, like my physical type. My husband was tall, blonde hair. He didn't play guitar nearly as well, not even on Wii, but he was a decent guy. But he was no David Gilmour. And but I have to thank my ex because I was not as big. I wasn't a big Pink Floyd fan. I was. I was. I mean, I was aware, especially like when the Wall came out. And, it's like I was in my preteens and teens. But I just and I would listen to it on the radio, depending on the station, because certain stations play, like I think DC 101 played Pink Floyd, and 98 Rock played Pink Floyd, but maybe not Q107 or WPGC. Am I aging myself? And that was more pop, which I listened to a lot too. My sister was more the DC 101 person. And the 98 Rock. 98 Rock was even heavier, I think, than DC 101. But DC 101 had Howard Stern, too. So, anyway, see how easily I get off track. I'm trying to keep track of time, too, because I don't want this to go over 15 minutes. You did that, right? And I wrote, David Gilmour, Prince, because I was positive during Prince and the Revolution time that I was going to marry Prince, and my childhood friend was going to marry Michael Jackson. We actually used to write letters to each other with, I would address hers to Mrs. Michael Jackson, and she would address mine to Mrs. Roger Nelson, Prince Roger Nelson. Yes, we did this because we were so, Freaks and Geeks. Yeah. Especially me. I was a freaking geek. Not such a geek as this kind, but we didn't really fit in with. We just that's why I think we meshed so well. But I think she was probably more popular than I was. Didn't take much. No offense, but I'm just saying. But I think I just kind of melded into the background, and then suddenly I was a star senior year of high school. The lead in the fall production of, oh God, it's called Runaways. And it was that bad. Well, let's just say Lisa did not put in the work that she probably should have done. Now, granted, I'm doing this, I'm rehearsing for a play while I'm in school full time in high school. So there's that. I'll try not to rag on but we didn't know our lines until very near opening, curtain opening time. It would seem, because I seem to remember there was a write up in my senior yearbook that said just that. when I think something like when the students or actors or whatever we call them said that they didn't know the lines like a few days before they came home. Oh, anyway, that I did much. Well, I have no recollection of how that production went off of Runaways. I don't know the playwright, so I would say. I know Remus was the male lead, I was the female lead. So I guess we were in charge of some place for Runaways. That's what I'm thinking. It was a drama. And then we were both leads in the spring musical, which was Anything Goes. I was Reno Sweeney, and he was, God damn it, I can't, Billy, who was played in the soundtrack of that original Broadway production was with Hal Linden, from Barney Miller. Wonderful singer. Wonderful singer. Hal Linden and, oh God, I'm getting off track, aren't I? Oh God, I can't remember. Eileen Rogers. Eileen Rogers. And I memorized the fuck. I could lip sync, and I did in my head to the soundtrack while on stage. I memorized the fuck out of that. Like I kind of did with all my albums, but that one because I was going to be in the musical. Unfortunately, the orchestra did very well, but it was a high school orchestra. It was not a Broadway orchestra, and it wasn't recorded in 1950 whenever, 60 whenever, to a Broadway audience. But I adjusted accordingly. But I felt I sounded like Eileen Rogers, and she's probably not as well known as other singers on Broadway, performers on Broadway. But I loved her, and that was I was made to play that role, even though I was only 16, 17, and playing a much older. I think I did a very good job. I was so, and that's when like the cool seniors started getting into theater programs in senior year, because I was friends with twin girls, and they both and I was pretending the whole time. I wasn't part of their world. I don't know what I was to them really. I never saw them again after senior week, and I probably let go of more authentic relationships for that. I was a teenager. I was desperate to be liked. I mean, it was all very chaste back then. To me, it was all very. It seems like so old school back then, even though it was the 80s. There was cocaine and more. There was everything in the 80s too, but it was just different. And I never went to any reunion. I don't know if my class ever held a reunion, but isn't that funny? I just let go that quickly, and that's probably CPTSD too. It's like I was like, okay, I can escape this world now, so goodbye. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go my separate way now, and they did to other people, of course. But anyway, um, Pete Townsend, Carlos Santana, that and Pete Townsend. everything music-wise for me, I must think. I mean, I was always a huge music lover. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like my taste got more sophisticated, or like I learned to appreciate other genres of music more while I knew my husband and was married to my husband. Um, which is why David Gilmour is like my favorite. Even though, I mean, the whole the band name is because of what Pink Anderson is. Like, I wrote it down. Pink Anderson and Floyd Council, two old blues, black blues musicians who were considered some of the best in the, because that's where all this music comes from, blues, and you know, and that's why like all my favorite guitarists are very blues driven. Um, Eric Clapton used to be a huge favorite too, and a large part of that had to do, well, not only he was a great guitarist, so I've heard like criticism of him in recent years, and I don't know if it's all because it's like political things he said, or just that like he wasn't really like all he thought he was. I don't know. Let's put that aside and just go back to having watched. Is that going to be my? Did I make that my phone? Oh no, I didn't. I shouldn't. But I have to do it. No. Anyway, but what the hell was I talking about? I don't remember. Anyway, it was because of these um, the blues and before. Everything comes from something, and that's why of my interesting curiosity about copyright law, because if we're not the original owners, I mean, we may write the words, but we even take words. I noticed another song that did that. It was a Led Zeppelin song, and he says, "I got a bird that whistles. I got a bird that sings." Well, that's in a beat. Was it a Beatles song too? Oh no 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 no! God damn it! What was I supposed to do? Oh, now I have to look it up for you again. But anyway, I'm still on that journey because I'm beginning to question this copy or the length of copyright. Remember in the Constitution that a lot of these like white nationalists, Trumpers, say they believe so deeply in that they're gutting. um, that was in the original Constitution. Of course, that's not what that is. What was I looking at? Oh, Bird That Whistled. Oh, it was a Bob Dylan song, Karina Karina. That's what it was, because I was listening, when I was listening to Free Will and Bob Dylan, Karina Karina, which there's a movie with that name, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the song lyrics, but that was Bob Dylan lyric. And, so I wonder if he got any royalties from the fact that, because, anyway, I'm digressing and I've got things to say. But no, I find that really interesting that you can put your copyright on it, even though you actually, I guess maybe they paid Dylan to use that. But I mean, like I said, other bands do it all the time, whether ostentatiously or subtly, just in the way they play their instruments or sing too. And I think that would be another really good one to do. Is pick a drummer of all time. You might be surprised at my choice, but I think it's very um, I think that it's very well deserved. He is very well deserved of his being my. He should be thankful that he is my first pick. But I would love to know more. Everything's guys. Got to remember, there's Sister Rosetta Tharpe too, blues player. I had to mention the women. Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, all the guitarists I like play a lot of bluesies. play very bluesy music. And that's why I love him so much. So I thought I would have my album would really be The Dark Side of Me by Pink Floyd. Gummies optional. I don't promote the drinking of alcohol just because I don't know who's watching this. And alcohol's really not that good for you. And I know, having said that, in about a month, I will be imbibing a couple of cocktails while my friend is in town. But that, but I do that twice a year at most. And there have been times while out with some friend, I have declined. I've had either a mocktail or just water. So I'm just saying. And I'm not saying I'm any better than anybody else, but alcohol's not good for you. It's jet fuel, which like I said, will drink some of. Not very much, because I do not like, I don't want to feel any effects of it. I mean, a nice buzz, it does give you a nice buzz, but like two's my limit. Especially because they're like $20. You know, I try to go for like the nice ones. But anything in a martini glass. And I like them sweet. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Oh, so Dark Side of the Moon. I was saying. So gummies optional. What can I say? I think that you would enjoy the Dark Side of the Moon would be best enjoyed under some THC or not. And that's fine. I'd say one or the other. Okay. Or whatever. You can do it while you're sitting on the toilet. But that's only if you. What is it, guys, who sit on the toilet for long? But I have to say, I used to sit on the toilet and read, probably hiding out in my bathroom. Or I was very constipated as a child, which, given where I was living in my life, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if I was straining a lot as a child. It messes with everybody, right? And again, I'm getting off track. And that brings me to a very interesting question. A coworker friend asked me recently, and she said, she asked me what I couldn't live without. And of course, because I know it's like my CPTSD and stuff. Plus, these are like, I can get into these kind of deep questions. Granted, we were at work, so there wasn't really a chance to go too deep into it, because I would love to dive deep into that. But anyway, so I say things like my books, music. Actually, I said go read authors. I said cat, animals, music, books, solitude. I said, and if I could go on, it'd be like bird song, the rustling of leaves, the wind, rustling leaves in the trees, dogs barking in the dog parks, or just seeing a really happy, like a dog that looks like she's smiling. Yeah. Or she said, I saw a doggy the other day who was like prancing, and I hope they didn't do anything to make her be that way. I'm just hoping that she's like a diva, and she's decided that's her runway look. She's going with prance, and maybe this is something she was born with. She was born a diva. There's just nothing you can do about that. But anyway, so after I came to, so I could go on and on and on, and I just did. But I didn't say those extra things to her. But I said, so what couldn't you live without? And she said, my phone. And I was just like, oh. And now she did try to qualify it by saying, you know, my books are on my phone and my music's on my phone. Yeah, so is mine. well, some of my books. I still read a lot of physical books because I just can't look at a screen that long. I'm really trying to, as I'm looking into a screen, not to spend too much time reading on my phone. But I do. But having said that, nothing about like her, or even like, I can understand you not saying like family members because I'm estranged from my remaining family, but no mention of her parents or any siblings or a beloved. I think she may have a cat. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, it was on her phone, but you can't have your real friends on the phone, and you can't have a real Russian Louise on your phone. Now I'll listen to meditations that use those sounds, but it's not a substitute. There's a reason they use those sounds because they're calming and they make you, or can make you reflective or just still and just focus on that. No, but yeah, I just found it. She's in her mid-20s. That just made me really kind of sad in a way. Because, like I said, because I have to like dissect the conversation, especially one like that just kind of came out of the blue, which is kind of what I like about her. Yeah, even while we were still together but not talking about it anymore, I was thinking about all the things I would add, like walking on grass or walking along the beach or hearing the waves crash or hearing the gulls or saying hi to pigeons and the starlings or the little, I don't know, the starlings, the little ones, or they like the longer jet gray ones. I don't know if there's anything called jet gray, but it's not quite black, but it's deep, beautiful gray. I wish I was more of a birder. I just know that I love them all, and I wish them all peace, joy, happiness, and good health, and to be treated well by their fellow birds. Namely, thank you. But it made me also think of my dad and how, like, if I asked him that question, or anybody asked him that question, how, if I would be on the list, and if so, where on the list? I have a feeling, unless he said my kids, which is ambiguous because he could just mean his kids from Jill onward, because I know he loved Jill. Maybe because, or he loved him as much as a rapist child abuser can love their child. Alfred Simon Perry the Third. Had to get that in. But and then that made me think about when I finally cut him off, and I didn't do it in person. I don't know why. I guess I just didn't want to be around him anymore, and that was the whole point. So, and he had shown no indication of either the ability to or the desire to speak to me about this at all. Like I said, there came a point where I think he was, and it happened young, but I think that influenced the way he treated me, which was basically, I got hit with, not as much as Jill did, but I no longer existed to him, and we'd be in the same room. That's very damaging, just so you know. Anyway, so then I finally ended it with him via email because that seemed appropriate. I don't recall saying anything about him being a rapist child abuser. I probably kept it pretty, because even until the end, you know, it's like, do I want to crush this person? Um, I kind of wish I had, but I think I kind of did, to tell you the truth. And that's why I'm telling you this. Is so I can't remember how I ended it. Just that I can no longer have you in my life, and I don't know what else. I don't think I went on and on and on. Don't know me. I may have gone on and on and on. And the only response I got from him was, "You didn't do anything wrong," which is all I got. Even then, he used me language. He couldn't say. He was never gonna. He was never gonna admit anything. He was never gonna apologize, take responsibility for anything. But what he did say was, I guess he thought that may have implied or is inferred, which, but no, no. But I mean, I felt a great lift after doing it because that meant I no longer had to love him. You know how hard it is to love someone that has just so easily, without any repercussions, destroyed your family, you know? And yet, I harbored this affection for him. He was the only father I had. And he wasn't a good one. But it's so funny because I didn't start calling myself an atheist until probably, it was definitely post-divorce. Maybe I may have said it once or twice while I was married or something, but I've really become more like vocal about it. I don't know where this is coming from, but I feel like I behaved more like a true somebody, Christian, a follower of Christ, Jesus, would treat another human being as an atheist than he did, you know what I'm saying, as a Christian. And that a lot of people um, don't do, even though they say they're devout Christian or whatever religion. Anyway. And then, but, so like I said, I felt like finally free because I was never going to get anything from him. And I was disliking, I never liked Faith. I never liked my stepmother. I'll tell you another day how I first met her, how Joe and I first met her. But, so losing her was no heartbreak at all. But I was always upset that I couldn't salvage anything with my half siblings, my younger half siblings. But I couldn't be with them. I couldn't hang out with them and be myself with them if I couldn't tell them the truth. And I just couldn't do it to them. Even, I don't regret it, I guess, but at the same time, I mean, I broke that trauma cycle or whatever you want to call it. They call it the books or whatever. From my point of view, from in my world, I stopped it by not having children and becoming a person I am becoming, healing. Um, but yeah, I just couldn't do it. So anyway, So what I was going to say was that, like I said, I felt this freedom that I couldn't. I didn't have to love him anymore. I didn't have to forgive him anymore. And then I found out 3 years later. I guess, yeah, because my mom and I were still seeing, visiting and seeing each other then. And I think she mentioned to me that he had died of pancreatic cancer, I believe, a quick battle with it. And a part of me thought, I wonder if I played any role in that when I cut him out of my life. Because, he had to say something to Faith about it, I'm sure, at least. And then goodness knows what they told David Gilmour about why you're not going to be seeing Lisa. Lisa's not coming around here anymore. It's because, and it makes me sad because I don't have a relationship with any of my siblings. And I never had I never had a really deep one with my younger sibling, half sibling. Just because of the age gap, 13 and 16 years younger than I am. We were just a different, and this is what, anyway. But I tried. I really did try. And I tried harder. I think Jill probably tried too, in a way. But Jill was already in the dribbles with this thing. Anyway, which was challenging. I say was because I'm no longer in contact with her, and that plays a big role in it. And not only that, but the cause of that, the reason she speaks and behaves and became like super JW. So powerful, so zealous, too zealous even for her own church. But yeah, so I often wonder because I think we all carry like precancerous cells, and certain stresses can make those cells grow cancerous. I'm not a scientist. Look it up. But this is what I've read. This is a very, maybe I think I read about it on actually nutritionfacts.org, which I have linked below. So yes, it's from a very trustworthy medical doctor source. So there. And I can't remember what it's saying. Oh, that you have, and I may not, this is all paraphrasing and just my interpretation of what you're saying, that stress can activate precancer cells to become cancerous. And so I wonder if as much as he stayed emotionally separate from me, as possible, I wonder if, like, me actually having the strength, which I'd always had, and I think he knew I always had it. And so when it finally started coming out, he went completely around me. If it was, if we were having like a confrontation, which would sometimes happen. But yeah, and I didn't feel anything when he died. And I think that's perfectly appropriate. But then, and this was 2021, I finally told my mother's third husband exactly what I thought of him and who he was. And he started name calling first. So this is like a 70-year-old man. Horrible man. But just a really, yeah, he's just a horrible guy. He was not a good guy. Anyway, so when he said something snarky, or what he thought was snarky to me, or mean, because he was being mean, but you'll soon find out why. I said in my head, I'm like, all right, you can go here. And so I said, well, you're a fucking alcoholic. And my mother was standing next to him. And he turned away from me when I said that. And I said, and the week before my wedding, when my mother was down, she told me, because she had moved up with him 6 months prior to my wedding. And so the week before my wedding, when she came down, I'm telling him this, she did nothing but bitch and moan about what a huge mistake she'd made moving in with you and marrying you. And we begged her, or I know I begged her. I told her over and over again, you do not want this. Nobody. I remember him meeting my in-laws, and of course, there was no love lost between my dad and him. On the very few occasions that they were in the same area. But yeah, so that's what I said to him. And then I can't really remember what happened next. Oh yeah, my mom got a knife. She got a knife. I can't remember what she said, but she went into the kitchen to get a knife. And I said, Mom, please put the knife down. This is what I was dealing with before I left my mother's home and moved into a shelter for 6 days, a women's shelter for 6 days. And this is because she's extremely unhealed. She has extremely unhealed trauma. And that's why there's nothing to forgive. But she took this butcher knife out. And I said, Mom, please put that down. You don't do that. And then somehow we ended up in my room, or the spare room, which was my room when I lived there. And the door closed, and I don't know if Ken was yelling other stuff, started talking again or whatever, or something that my mom said. Ken said this, and I said, I don't give a fuck what Ken says. And I'm like, Mom, please put the knife down. Can you please give me the knife? I don't want you to have to say things. Oh, because I thought she was going to use it on me. That's what I thought. Though I should have known because there were signs. But she said, I guess she had put the knife. I can't remember if she saw the knife with her, but she said, no, I meant like to herself. This is a statement my mother was saying. Well, the next day he had a stroke. The truth is dangerous, my friends. Very dangerous. And we have to remember that it's dangerous and it's powerful. And he was also in extremely poor health. Like I said, he was drunk, and he ate nothing but meat, and he watched nothing but Fox News, and he smoked cigars, and he would sit at the computer and gamble. And I think he gambled, like, he had to take a second mortgage out on the house because of his gambling debts. You know what I'm saying? I shortly moved out. Thank you, Leslie, for your help in that matter. And, believe it enough, I have no recollection. Well, I remember speaking to a staff member at the women's shelter there. And it's got to be an extremely tough job. I'm going to say that because I'm going to say preamble that before I say that I felt like she was really not happy about me being there. Even though, you know, I had to call the police on my mother because she was, even though, yeah, but I guess I was doing all the things I never got to do to my dad. I never called the police on my dad until my poor mother gets called on, but it's because I have trauma. Even though I'm healing, I still have trauma. And when another person comes at me with their arm raised, and then just like a day before has a butcher knife in their hand, I was trying to get her committed. Seriously, it was one of the best things I ever did. And I'm not saying like committed, but go to the psych ward. Of course, I can't imagine psych wards here in the city. I was very fortunate. Mine was suburban psych ward. And there's a lot of that I don't remember either. But some very poignant moments, which I'll discuss in another time. But anyway, I wanted to end this quickly. Oh, I'm at 51 minutes. So, just really quickly, I just wanted to thank a dear co-worker of mine who, on his own, did some research on rheumatoid arthritis to like better understand what I live with and me. And I IG'd it because it's one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for me. And it brought tears to my eyes, and I was so moved that I made that little IG post about it. So thanks for that. And then, every once in a while, I'll look at my water glass, and there'll be, especially for when they're living, and there'll be a gnat floating on the water. And every time I try to save the gnat. And usually if it's just happened, I do. I try to be very careful. So anyway, the other night, but sometimes I've been in there too long. And I thought that may have been the case with this one, but I still very gently lifted her from my water glass, and I had a little wad of tissue, and I very gently slid her on that, and that was on my bedside table, the desk, which is beside my bed, and I thought she was gone. But I said, you know, maybe, just maybe, she just needs to dry off and gather herself. And I woke up the next morning, and she was gone. She must have dried off and gathered herself and flew away. And I saved a gnat, because all innocent, life, all life matters. All innocent life matters. No matter how tiny to me. And so that's how I'm going to end this video. And I did pretty good. Less than 55 minutes. That's pretty good, right, guys? Okay. Oh, Serenity is back. I guess I misinterpreted and thought they were weren't selling it for good, but they must have just been out of it. So I got some more of this. But tonight, I'm taking I took this one, which is Daydreaming. And it's nice. It says creative. And I thought I could, well, I think I'm a creative person. I could always use more creativity, so I thought I would try this one, Pinkberry Daydream, because it has an addition like CBC in it or whatever. Anyway, thank you all, fellas, because I like this one. It's a little more subtle, so that might be a good one for these videos too, even though I still went off on tangents, but I kept a list, a tiny list of my subject matter, so I didn't go too far off the rails. Anyway, thank you, off hours, even though you're not sponsoring, and that's okay. And thank you also, Housing Works, for having these again. Well, please do pack a punch. But on that note, let me get my finger prepared to stop recording. This is a new thing, isn't it? Oh, I don't know if I picked a movie. Oh, the movie, the band, about the band, the documentary about the band. I can't remember the full name. I'll put it down in the link below because that is fucking magical too. So I thought I'd stick to the music because, you know, anyway, because it also about what he's talking about music. All right, I got it on the stop recording sign. Or, yeah, thing. So I'm going to say goodbye and peace out.